Okay, here's a little some bonus material, some deleted scenes for Geeks on the Street. We're going to do a little super nerded out deep dive on Thor, The Dark World, which I think we really both had reservations about.
Yes. I had reservations going into it.
Your reservations going in because you didn't like the first Thor.
I didn't care for the first Thor. It was fun fluff, but I just didn't care. Out of all the first Marvel movie, Phase 1 movies, I cared for that the least. I even liked the Ed Norton Incredible Hulk more, just because I got some Hulk smash at the end.
Yeah. Can I bring up my biggest issue with this movie?
With Thor the Dark World.
Thor the Dark World.
Yeah.
Listen. Minor things, I don't need to see viscous force fields ever again in movies.
Right.
I don't need to see ships crashing into colonnades ever again.
Yeah.
I don't need to see dust swirls caused by ships landing on dirty fields. Like things like that, I'm over. I know that they can do that now.
Sure.
I don't need to see them. But what really bummed me out was that this was the first time that I truly think that Marvel's necessity to create a continuity disrupted their own storytelling ability. In that sense that the movie ends with this kind of cop-out cliffhanger, like, oh, Loki did something with Odin, he's now the boss, okay. Yep. And then, with Jane Foster waiting and Thor walking away, having learned, I don't know what, except...
Let's talk about that ending, because I think I agree with you, this is a big issue.
Yeah.
When the credits rolled at the end of the movie, and I consider the end of the movie to be the end of the movie,
right?
And I know you agree.
Right.
It happens after, spoiler alert,
spoilers throughout this, by the way,
Odin is revealed to actually be Loki, who faked his death, and you just have Thor walking down a hallway, and the movie just ends.
Boom.
Limply.
Boom.
There's no surprise to the twist. There's no shock to it. Anyone could have seen it coming.
Right.
Loki has been faking everyone out throughout the whole movie to the point of, extreme plot mechanics. He's a literal Deus Ex Machina at this point. But then, after the credits, you have the scene where Thor, the hero, gets to kiss the girl.
Not just the credits. After...
Oh, yeah.
After... the setup for the next movie, they had the
Guardians of the Galaxy.
They had the kind of art designed credits with like the brushes and everything like that.
That was neat.
It was beautiful. And then they had your Benicio del Toro as the collector. Yeah. Infinity stones, I guess, not gems, but the Infinity Gems leading up to the Infinity Gauntlet. Okay, that's fine. It was very cool. Whatever, lo-fi. But then I had to wait through 10,000 digital animator names. Only to see Jane Foster still waiting in her apartment. Oh, what's it? Was it thunder? Oh, is it lightning? Oh, is it rain? And then she goes out, and then she sees the man that she loves. That this whole movie supposedly was about them reuniting.
Right.
And I had to wait through the entire credits of the movie to see the movie's hero kiss the girl.
It was violation of...
They cut the ending off of their movie and put it at the end of the credits.
Storytelling logic. The simplest storytelling logic. And you could tell that the movie was shot with that in mind, that kiss being the last scene in mind. Not after
and then the
credits.
frolicking snow beast,
Right. It's just, it did not make sense.
I don't understand.
It was a much better way to end the movie before the credits. And that's just part of the problem. The idea, and this strikes to my concern about Thor 2, is that with the greater continuity in mind, with the popularity of Loki as a character, the studio heads decided, we're going to end the movie with Loki because, let's face it,
he's the one everyone likes.
They care more about Loki
than they do about Thor.
They think Loki is more interesting. They think Loki is more important to the way the overall story is going. It's clear. It's clear. There was no reason for Loki to be such a featured player in this particular story.
Right.
You could have had Thor dealing with coming home after the Battle of New York and the Avengers, dealing with his legacy, his reluctance to become king, his pining for Jane Foster, while happening to deal with this new existential threat in the form of the Dark Elf, Malekith, who could have been a really cool villain.
Oh, but was an awful villain.
But was cut down, was half-baked.
Zur from The Last Starfighter was a better villain.
Saris from Galaxy Quest was a better villain. All right, and Galaxy Quest was a joke. Okay, I love that movie, but it was a comedy. This guy Malekith was threatening to take existence back to its original
to end
point
all
of darkness,
to end all existence.
Everything. Yeah, why not? Okay, because he's a bad guy. I get it. Bad guys are bad guys. Good guys are good guys. But fine. You don't need him to be General Zod. You don't need him to be Harvey Dent. You don't need him to have this rich, complicated backstory. He's just cool. Give him some more screen time. Give him some more scenery to chew. I want to indulge. As much as I like Hiddleston's Loki, by shoehorning him into this, they've kind of lessened him to me.
Well, it's also just kind of like, okay, so let's look at what it took to conjure the Avengers. In the Avengers, it took an invading alien army that, by all accounts, would have done some damage to Earth.
Right.
But it isn't like that they were going to destroy all of the 9 realms once they passed through that portal. Yeah. So if causing damage to Midtown Manhattan and the potential like conquest of the Earth was enough to call on Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, the Hulk, the Black Widow, Hawkeye, Shield, Nick Fury, and a couple nuclear weapons, the total obliteration of the universe was just a one-man job.
Yep.
Was a Thor job. So for this, taken with the understanding that they're creating this extended continuity, with the new knowledge that the next few episodes are all going to be about gathering the Infinity Stones. Sure. So by the time presumably Avengers 3 rolls around, because Avengers 2 is the Ultron storyline, so by the time Avengers 3 rolls around, presumably it's going to be the Infinity Gauntlet with Thanos, or Thanos, however you want to say it, which is an amazing book, and an amazing storyline, but much of the storyline, but spoilers, but the storyline of the Infinity Gauntlet series is that he kills half of the sentient life in the universe.
Right.
So if you treat the destruction of the entire universe as as blasé as you did in Thor: The Dark World, how are you going to get me excited about destroying just half of it in 2 movies down the road, if that's what you decide to do?
Beautiful point, and it brings something else to mind. As I've said before, we've bought the ticket for the ride of the overarching Marvel Universe. We know that the Avengers are involved. Now, in Iron Man 3, I could buy that Tony Stark and Rhodey were fighting Guy Pearce and his extremis army by themselves because
they can handle it.
They can handle it because he's got all these suits flying around. Thor is, for all intents and purposes, a god. But he was dealing, as you said, with an existential threat greater than the one in the Avengers. Where the hell was S.H.I.E.L.D. during Thor 2? I mean, if we're going to really buy into this whole overarching continuity, where was the Hulk? Where was Tony Stark? Where was Captain America at this point?
How angry would they have been if he had actually let it all go to darkness? And like you would have had the little deleted thing, like, why didn't you call us? It's like we were done. We had nothing to worry about. We could have helped you out. It's like, I just thought that I could handle it on my own with Jane Foster. It's like, no, dude, this is
crazy.
The obliteration of the universe is what you hook. This is how we help each other.
Exactly.
Oh God,
it was
that's what the thing. It's like
it's inconsistent.
It's inconsistent stakes. It's like you showed me in the Avengers what is so dangerous that it requires the Avengers.
Yes.
If you show me something that on paper is significantly more dangerous than what required the Avengers,
an evil from the beginning of time,
and yet you don't need the Avengers, then immediately, if we treat this as a direct sequel to the Avengers, which I say that it is. It's a direct sequel to the Avengers, then immediately I'm like, oh, this isn't something I should worry about as much. Because we don't need the Avengers.
So you have fundamental issues like this bogging down Thor. Fundamental issues.
I know. This is the deep dive, the Thor deep dive.
We leave all that at the door. And then just basic story fundamentals inside, like character motivations. You have one scene where Odin is going on and on about how humans are pretty much just like us anyway. And then in the next scene, he's calling Jane Foster a goat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very inconsistent writing. Then you have Thor, at one point, hip to Loki's deceptions, his illusions. At the end, when Loki dies, Thor just leaves his body there. Doesn't even think about it. He just leaves him there and just goes off to this convenient cave over there with Jane Foster, and they happen to find the place they need to be.
So Thor's an idiot. Yeah. Thor is the dumbest of them all.
No. Thor is smart when he needs to be. Thor is stupid when he needs to be. That is the worst kind.
Can we say?
And it's unfair because I think Hemsworth is very good as Thor. I think he has charisma.
Yeah.
He has presence. He has good comedic timing, which is so important in these movies. Mm-hmm. He has good chemistry with, and they've given his character short shrift, and he's had 2 standalone movies dedicated to him.
Dude, I loved that scene when they got in the spaceship. It was like that. It was like that movie Flight of the Navigator. He was like, I don't know how to drive it. I'm gonna hit the buttons because I'm a god. This is magic. This is technology magic. And you're just like, oh, good lord, is this the best you can do with the sequel? Why don't you make him competent? Why don't you make him be like, dude, I've been around for thousands of years at this point. I can figure this out.
Right. It's ludicrous on its face. But
it's all silly.
You gotta sell it. You have to make it convincing.
I know.
And they failed. That's where Thor failed. There's a good deal of things I liked in Thor. I know you had issues with some of the the touches here and there, the force fields and what have you. But I love the production design of the movie.
Yeah, it looked fine.
I love the cosmic scale of it, the world jumping scale of it.
Yeah, I liked it when it was on the ground, when it was like leather masks and rubber masks and stuff like that. That was great.
Neat, like a space opera kind of stuff. I love that, and I think that the actors do well. I just think I don't know if this is a problem with the Marvel movies at large. I think Iron Man 3 found some of the focus in the Iron Man movies that Iron Man 2 lost. I think the Avengers is very good. I still have hope, and I'm more interested than ever than I was in Guardians of the Galaxy, because that interlude in the mid-credits with Benicio del Toro acting like a refugee from the Buckaroo Banzai movie.
I love that because it was like...
It was kooky. It was...
I loved it because I was like, I would watch that on VHS.
Right.
It looked like something you'd watch on VHS. Right. It looked like Space Truckers or something like that.
It was weird. It was fun.
It was great.
And as much as I hope the whole Guardians of the Galaxy movie has most of that feel to it, you just know they're going to throw a bunch of movie magic at it, and it's going to...
It's just going to be a CGI...
but I still want to see it. I mean, there's going to be a talking raccoon with a gun. I know. That's kind of neat. And Captain America, the Winter Soldier looks cool. I don't know if I'll rush out to see them right away, but I want to watch them.
That's the thing. That's the thing, though. It's like I'm like, yeah, this all looks cool, but then when I go, it's cool. Cool only lasts about 15 minutes.
Right.
And then at that point, you got to be like, okay, why should I feel something?
It's funny, when Thor: The Dark World began, the opening scenes and with the cool backstory about where the Ether and Malekith came from, and then you have Thor, fighting for Vanaheim and everything like that, and destroying that rock monster.
Name dropping Vanaheim.
Yeah, man. I was having a great time.
Yeah.
It was when the movie slowed down that the writers forgot to care about the characters, and you got to make the characters engaging. You got to make those small moments work, and Thor did not, and there was a lot of potential for that to happen. I mean, the crux of the story, other than the big villain trying to erase existence, was the fact that Jane Foster and Thor really, really, really wanted to get back together again, and I just don't care.
And if you stayed to the end of the credits, you saw that happen. All right, guys, this was the Thor: The Dark World deep dive
bonus features
with Mike Callier and Marshall Crook. Thank you so much for watching. Please share. Please weigh in. Join the debate and tell us why we're wrong, because we might totally be wrong.
Tell us why we're wrong. Tell us why we're right. Tell us why you didn't even bother to see Thor, if that's the case.
That may be the better answer.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you guys so much. We appreciate it.
Have a good one.
Bye.